Hi, welcome back. This is just a brief primer on Python programming. We're going to talk about how to install Python, how to run Python, debugging. We're going to use three different packages: IDE, IPython, and Spider. In this case, this is on Windows. So Windows 10. This particular tablet is a Surface Pro, but it'll also work on other Windows versions as well. Okay, so let's first of all just go to how to download Python. Now there are a couple different options. Python.org is kind of the best way to just get something that's going to work very quickly. If you go to downloads, and then you can download either the 3.5 or 2.7. A lot of people are still using 2.7. Most people are. But there's momentum that's gaining in 3.5. There's not a lot of difference between those two, but they're not necessarily compatible. Okay, so you can select either one and then download it. And once you do that, then you'll have a program. If you just select IDLE, then you can select that, and it'll open up a shell here. So that's where you run your Python programs or commands like A equals 5, B equals 3. A plus B. Okay, so there's the shell. If you want to write a script, you can come to File, New File, and I often like to just put this off into the left-hand corner, and then be able to see the results here in the right. Okay, so you can write a script: A equals 5, B equals 3, and then print A plus B. Okay, and then when you save that, I'm going to save it somewhere like my program.py. Okay, and then you can run it by clicking F5 or Run Module. Okay, so that's one way. This is the first environment, the IDLE editor, and then the command, the console window here on the right. Okay, so I'm going to close this. There's another option for downloading Python. So that's Anaconda. I'll just select Anaconda download. This is from continuum.io, and then you can download, for example, for Windows, and you can get Python 2.7 or 3.4. Now this will include all the packages that you need. One thing on that last, Python.org, that's just the base Python package. And so sometimes, well, you got to get NumPy, Matplotlib, some of these other packages. You've got to download those individually. So let's say you want to go download NumPy, and then it gives you some information here on installing NumPy, SciPy, some of these other ones that we use commonly for analysis. Okay, but the nice thing, let me just go back to the Anaconda, is that everything is included in this one download. So it's very nice. Has an IDE, an integrated development environment, through either IPython or the Jupyter, or through Spider, which I'll also show you as well. So this one, if you want to just, you don't want to bother with all the package downloads, you can come here. I also made on the course website, I also made available just all of the packages that you'll need for this course. If you come to Python on the right and just select the introduction, you'll see some of the install individual packages. If you just download these and install them, you'll have everything that you need for IDLE. But then you'll also have to go to this the IPython.org, or you can go to Anaconda like I showed before. Okay, so to download the Anaconda. So I'd recommend the two places to go. So let me just go ahead and open this up. For IDLE, just go to go to python.org to get those packages, and then you'll also get at minimum NumPy and then also Matplotlib. Okay, so get those as well. For IPython notebook, I'd recommend just searching, do a Google search on download Anaconda. Okay, and either 2.7 or 3.5 should work well, and that'll give you both of these. Okay, so let's just go ahead and you can edit a Python script in any text editor. I also sometimes just like to use the Notepad++. Okay, so I'm just going to get this out of the way, a little bit off to the right here. Okay, so Notepad++, I'm just going to create a simple script here. Okay, so I'm just going to enter a number. So ask the user for a number and then just convert it to a floating point. What I'm going to do is compute the square root of this and then put it in a while loop. So continually ask the user for a number and then we'll store those numbers as well. Okay, so let's also put this in a try except structure. So what that does is it tries to convert it to a floating point number here on line 5, but if for whatever reason it isn't successful, then it's going to go to this except area right here. So I'm also going to take the square root of this. Let's say I entered a negative number, for example, then it would have an error and then come down to this except area. Okay, I'll print out the result as well. Okay, so I'm just going to print the square root of a. I just convert it to a string here, equals, and then a string, which is my result, the C result. Okay, if it didn't work, I'll just break out of this loop. Okay, that's the only thing that's going to break because I have while this is true, and so it's always true is always going to be true, so it's always going to loop until it hits this break point right here. Okay, so then I'll print out program completed. Okay, so this is just a very basic program. It's going to let you enter in a number, take the square root of that number, and then whenever it isn't a number or isn't a valid square root, then it's going to exit and then print program completed. Okay, but let's make this just a little bit more sophisticated. I'm going to record the time at which the number was entered, and then also let's go ahead and store it. We'll store it as a NumPy array. Numerical Python is a package that allows a lot of data analysis, arrays, multiplications, things like that. It's kind of a base package that we use a lot. So I'm going to create a new blank array, which is x. That's going to store my times, and then a new y array, just blank, that's going to store my square root values. Okay, now I'm going to also get the current clock time. So I'm going to use the time.clock. Okay, so that'll grab the current clock time from when I started, from when this clock function was first initialized. So the first time it's going to be 0, and then after that it's going to reference off the last time I called time.clock. Okay, and then I'm going to store the values in an array that's going to expand. Okay, so I'm going to use the append, the numpy.append function there. So I'm going to take my current x array, which just started off as empty up here above, and then I'm going to append to that the current time. So it's just going to grow the array by 1. Also the same thing for the y array. I'm just going to append it with this new C value. Okay, so if anything doesn't happen correctly in this, then it's going to break and then come down here and print out program completed. But let's say I wanted to do something with that data before I completed the program. I want to now plot the data. Okay, so I want to plot the results. If you're in IPython, then you're going to have to use an extra command here. Okay, so the extra command is going to be this matplotlib inline. Okay, that's just for IPython. We don't need it for right now. Okay, then I'm going to import matplotlib pyplot as PLT. So I could use this big long name right here, import this, and then use that, but I'm going to shorten the name as PLT, much like I did above with NumPy as MP. Okay, and then I'm going to plot the x and y data, and then give it an x label, a y label, and show the plot. Okay, when you're in IPython, you'll also comment this out as well. Okay, so there is our script, and let's go ahead and just do this in the 3 different environments that I showed, the IDE, the IPython, and the Spider. So all 3 of those. So I've got it saved here on my desktop. So here is, I'll go ahead and delete this one. Here is my script right here. If you just right click it, you can click if you go down to edit with IDE, you can select that. If you don't have that option there, when you right click, you can also just search for program and start IDE right there. Okay, and that will bring up this window, and then you can open, you can browse to, and then open my script. Okay, so if I wanted to do it this way, I would open it up like that. Okay, and then put this one off to the, I'm going to put this one off to the right, and then this one off to the left, and just make it a little bit bigger. And then what I can do is I can run it from IDE. So let's say I ran this, it's going to ask me for a number. I'll go ahead and just enter a couple numbers. Here, 5. Let me do 9, and then I'm going to wait just a little bit, just so we can see a little bit of a pause here. I'll do 16, 25, 36, 10. Okay, and then when I enter something that's not numeric, like I say, just hit enter, then it's going to plot the results. So it brings up a plot, and you can see it flashing there. Here's my figure that it brought up, and you can see the pause between these two that I took as it recorded the different times and just plotted the results. Okay, so this is the IDE. Let me just show you debugging in this as well. Okay, so if we want to debug, we just have to come over here to debug on the console, and then just open up the debugger. Okay, now this I find is fairly non-intuitive. Okay, not like Spider, like I'm going to show you next. And so when we run it now, it's going to go into debug, and then I can step, hit the step, click go, and that will just execute all the commands. But it shows me some information here on the on what's going on with the local variables. So I'm just going to step out of these. Okay, it looked like it. Let me go back here. Enter a number. Okay, so I'm going to click. I'm going to just select 12, 13. Okay, so I had continued the program, but you can step through them and then look at some of the local variables that are here. And what that'll do is it'll let you see values as they're what's all in the workspace, what values you can work with. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to close this out. That's how you debug. It's not very intuitive. I'm going to show you Spider as well. I like that a lot better for debugging. Okay, so I'm going to kill this. Yes, and kill that as well. Okay, so now let's go into the next one I want to show you is just IPython. Okay, so I'm just going to search for IPython, and there's a lot of different IPython apps here. Just go to IPython Notebook. Okay, so open that one up. It's going to have this little command prompt that's going to try to initialize something, then it'll open it up in a web page. Okay, so here it is running, and then you can browse to a folder. I'll just create here on the right a new IPython notebook. Okay, and then it gives me an ability to say, a equals 5, and then hit Control Enter, okay, and then there's no results there, so I can what I can do is just rearrange this. Let's say I want a insert cell below, for example. Then I can say print A, for example. Okay, Control Enter, and then it'll show me my result. Okay, so this is basically through a web page where it combines the editor and the console where you run the program into one. It's good for developing programs. I find it a little bit tedious if I have a big program that I'm trying to run or debug. So I like it for just small development programs. You can also do things like LaTeX in here, which is really nice. Just put the $2 signs, and many of you are not going to be familiar with LaTeX, but it makes it nice to for those of you who do understand it. Let me just write a differential equation. for example, okay, and it makes a really nice equation. Oh wow, okay, so that was not, it didn't like the, I needed to switch this back from the type of cell instead of code. I needed to do that as markdown, and then when I enter it, then you can see my equation there. So you can put nice documentation of your code in there, and it's going to look really nice. Okay. Now let's say I want to insert a cell below, and then let me just go ahead and copy in this script that I had before. Okay, so I'll just edit that with Notepad. I'll select all with Control A, Control C, and then go ahead and paste it in right here. Okay, so now I have my program that I ran before. Now what I want to do is, I can save this as a different notebook name. I can call it, like my script. And then the one thing I need to do here is just use the this %, and then matplotlib inline, and then comment out the plt.show. So that's the only thing that's different between the two. Now I'm going to show you something that, as I run this, okay, it's just a little bit different than the other program. So I'm going to hit Control Enter. Okay, and then it's going to ask me to enter a number. I'll do 12, enter, and if I just try to enter a number now without it selecting that box, it's going to do some really weird stuff. So I've got to select this box right here until I see a flashing cursor, and then enter, select the box again, and then enter. Okay, so unrecognized arguments for IPython. Okay, let me check this out. Oh, you know what? There it is. I can't use this comment thing after the IPython. I just have to have that separately with the % and then matplotlib inline. Okay, so let me try to run this one more time. 13, I'll do 25, and let me do 36. Okay, and oh, see, I didn't select that box, so it did some weird stuff up here in this web page, based version. Okay, so that happens sometimes. It's just a little bit quirky through the IPython, but it does make nice documentation. So let me just create a. Let me select this one again. Okay, I'm going to delete that, and then I'll paste it. That still didn't work out. It changed it to markdown. I need to change it back to code. Okay, and then I can run it one more time. Okay, so that's just been my experience with the IPython notebook. Just nice for small problems, but once you get anything that's substantial, then it just gets a little bit funny with working with it. Okay, so I'm going to still try to get this to work, and it's not working. Okay, let me try to just insert a cell below, and we'll try that over again. Okay, so I'm going to import it, and then I'm going to get rid of this for IPython, and then click Control Enter, and it's not working. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and leave that page, close out IPython, just enter in again. Okay, so that's what I typically do, is if it's causing me problems, I just close it out and then open it again, create a new IPython notebook, and I'll paste that code in one more time, and we'll go ahead and try it. Okay, and Control Enter. Okay, so there's my numbers. I'm going to make sure I select the box before I click Enter. And I'll select the box and then click Enter with nothing there. Okay, and then it should also produce that. Oh, you know what? I forgot to Okay, the other changes I need. Okay, wow, this is okay. I'm gonna try this one more time on IPython. I'll copy it and close it. Okay, so it did create that figure there. You can see it. I'm just going to do it one more time very quickly just to show you how nice the plots look in that web page environment. Okay, so I'm going to come to Python Notebook, New, Python 2. Okay, paste it in. Now I think I've got this line right and that line right, and then let me go ahead and click Control Enter. Okay, so this is not atypical for me. I typically have to restart this thing frequently, but once you get it right, okay, I did it again. I didn't select the box. I'm just going to kill this one, and we're going to go on to Spider. Okay, so I'm going to open up Spider now, okay, which is installed with Anaconda, and this is a nice integrated development environment for those who are familiar with, with something like MATLAB or something like Eclipse or other integrated development environments for code development. It's really a nice interface that shows you, a lot of your code. It helps you do the help functions as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and file. We'll just open the script on the desktop. Okay, so let me just give you a quick overview of Spider. Here is my editor where I can edit my script. Here is my console right here, and you can also see the help there. Well, the console is down here where you see the results. This is like an object inspector. You can also select Variable Explorer and see some of your variable values. So if I, for example, run this, okay, and I select Run or F5, then I've got Enter a number down here. Okay, so 20, I'll do 15, 25, 35, and on up. Okay, and then I'll enter just a couple more numbers, and then a blank. Okay, and then it showed me my plot there. Okay, so this is Spider. Now let me show you some of the debugging within Spider. So one of the really nice things about the debugging in Spider is that you can double click where you want breakpoints, for example, okay, or double click to remove them. Now breakpoint is where the code is going to pause when it goes through the execution, and then we can see how, just kind of step through it and see how it's working. Okay, so I'm going to put a breakpoint right here with the red dot next to it, just double clicking on that over here next to the line number. And then if I select debug, I can hit Control F5, or I can select debug, or I can select this debug file, and then it's going to start, and it asked me for a number. It hasn't hit my breakpoint yet, so I'll just enter in 25, and then it hit my breakpoint now. Okay, so if I go over to Variable Explorer, I can see that A is equal to 25. I don't have, the value of C. I haven't, it's a float right now. But when I step, so I have a couple different options on stepping right here. I'll be able to see run, current line, and then this says run into function. So if there's a function, you can step into it. Or you can run until the current function or method returns, or you can continue until the next breakpoint. Okay, so I'm just going to continue until the next breakpoint, which will be the loop. Okay, and then you can see that the value of C turned to a value of 5. So A was 25, C was 5. The current time is 1:15. Okay, and then let me enter another number here. And 25, okay, and okay, so I can continue now. Hit the breakpoint, and then I can just continue until the next execution. Okay, so I'm going to just put a couple more numbers in here. So this is a way that you can step through your code and be able to see the values change. And let's see, I'm going to just do this now. I'm going to just go ahead and step. I'll run the current line, okay, and then I can see C update. It's going to get the current time, and then append and append, okay, and then go through one more time. Okay, when I hit this, then it's going to ask me for another number. I'm just going to select enter, and then it is going to try to convert that, okay, and it's going to fail on that, and then go to the accept area, okay, and then it'll break out of that loop. Okay, then I'm going to go plot it. I'll have my plot with the red dots, X label, Y label, and then show the plot. Okay, so I've just found, Spider is probably the best for this integrated development environment. Most times when when I'm doing programming, I'll use IDE editor. I know that's kind of a basic one, but Spider's nice for if you're trying to debug your code or things like that. Okay, so this is just an overview of some of the environment for debugging, for programming. I showed you the IDE. I showed you IPython notebook, and then also Spider. Again, this was on Windows 10, and it's fairly straightforward to install these different packages. I encourage you to do that. One other thing that you can do, and I'll just share this with you just as a last thing, is if you want to run from the command line. For example, let me just get a command line here. Okay, I'm just going to create a new local.bat file and just get a command line here on my desktop. I'll edit that and then type cmd, just get a command line there, double click this. Okay, and then I can also just go Python my script.py. So if you don't have anything that's like plotting, you can also just run it from the command line. Okay, and then when I do my plotting, so there it is. Okay, so here's my plot. I just ran it from a Windows command prompt. Now to set this up, I'll just show you how to do that as well. If you're interested, you've got to come into just search here for path. Okay, you got to edit your environment variables for your account. Now only do this if you can mess up your computer if you do this wrong. So I don't recommend this if you're a beginner, and you want to edit this path systems variable. Okay, it didn't let me edit it there, so I've got to select edit the second one, okay, under the control panel, and then if you go into your environment variables, then it will let me edit it. Okay, so the one thing you want to make sure you have in your path is the path to your Python executable. Okay, so if I open up Python or my desktop or my Explorer here, I'm going to come to Python. I have Python 2.7 and then also 3.4. Here's your executable right here. That's what Windows is going to be looking for, so you've got to add it to your path so that when you type something like Python and then your script name, then it will know where to go looking for that Python executable. Okay, so this is really the python.exe right here. Okay, now that was .py instead. Okay, so that's how you can also run it from the command line. So I know I've shown you a lot of different ways to run the scripts and edit. Just my recommendation is if you're just getting started, maybe use the IDE. If you want a nice integrated development environment, the Spider is really nice. And if you want to do something through a web page, it's very collaborative, then and make the results look really nice, then IPython can be nice as well.